Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Son of the Mask. And this movie came out in 2005, and it's a sequel to The Mask, at least in spirit, because it doesn't really have any of the same characters as the first movie coming back. No familiar actors, from what I can tell from the first movie. And the only thing that's connecting these two movies is The Mask. And I guess it was like the mask of Loki, I guess, in the first movie, they say. And we get the character Loki in this movie. And yeah, this movie was unbelievably terrible. Like, I've seen this movie before, and I didn't really have much of a love for it. But rewatching this movie, it was like nightmare fuel. And I just could not stand this movie. I wanted it to end. And eventually it did, thankfully. And this movie is slightly shorter than the first movie. The first movie was an hour and 40 minutes long, and this one's closer to 90 minutes. But if we're going to talk about pacing, could have fooled me. This movie felt longer than the first movie, and I just was like just sitting watching this movie, and 30 minutes would go by, and I checked it to see how much time has gone by. I was like, 30 minutes. I was like, wow, that felt like an hour. Genuinely. The movie has really bad pacing. Barely anything happens for like the longest time. And even when we do get something happening, it's so inconsequential to the plot and just doesn't need to happen. And there's lots of bad comedy. There was like two jokes in the movie that I found to be kind of funny. And I'll get this out of the way really quickly. And first off, when the main character, played by Jamie Kennedy, when he first puts on the mask and he steps out of the car, and you get this like jazzy music playing. I was like, okay, just for like a couple of seconds when he started putting his foot out the door, that was kind of funny. It was like somewhat amusing and like does what you would expect, and it's like, okay, that's kind of fun. Wasn't a big fan of his like stretching and then his body turning to rubber. I was like, ugh, no, not up for that. But the rest of it, how it started, I kind of liked. And there was a reference to the movie Ransom, which I haven't seen, but I know the iconic line, "Give me back my son." That was kind of funny. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. It caught me off guard, and I'll give the movie 1 point for that. But the rest of the movie sucks. The acting in this movie is terrible, not because it's filled with terrible actors. The cast isn't necessarily the problem with this movie, it's just what they're given to work with. They have nothing to work with, or they have no idea what to do with the material that they're given. And the material that they're given is just awful, and I just don't understand why you would write characters in the way that you did in this movie, because the writing in this movie is atrocious. It's kind of like socially irresponsible to show this movie to kids, because it's just going to give them terrible ideas to do to people, and you should keep this movie far away from children. And the reason I say that is because this movie's rated PG, whereas the first one was PG-13, and not sure why they decided to do that, but here it is. It doesn't really feel less mature. In fact, it feels more mature in ways than the first movie because of how unintentionally scary it is. Like, this movie just goes all out with being cartoonish, and if you thought things were like unintentionally scary in the first movie, like, this is something else. So, like, they go all out, and it's a big swing and a miss, you could say. And just about every decision they made in this movie was just wrong. One thing that I did not mention about the first movie is that the budget for the first movie, it was like 23 million, and it grossed like 350 million. Pretty good, especially for 94. This movie, the budget was 84 million, and they grossed 59 million approximately. So pretty big flop. And as far as it being almost 4 times the budget of that first movie, even 11 years later, all I kept asking myself while watching is, where is that money gone? Because it certainly doesn't show on the screen. Everything looks so cheap, and it just looks like it's made of plastic. And I just really did not think this movie looked like a film released in theaters. It looked more like a straight to TV movie or straight to DVD, something you would find in a Walmart bin type deal. And it was just unbelievably cheap looking. And I don't know where all that money went. Did it just go to the actors? Did it go to the crew? Where did the money go? And the plot of this movie, it's just Loki has to find the mask because Odin ordered him to, and that's pretty much the plot of the movie, and it just doesn't really go anywhere interesting. And eventually, in the third act, because since it's revealed that it's actually the mask that is of Loki, and when you put it on, you get all of his powers, and one thing that you might be thinking is like, oh, okay, like we might get like a fight between Loki and whoever's wearing the mask, and that should be fun. No, not in this movie. Like, is there even like a standout moment in the action in this movie? No. In terms of like being genuinely impressive, there's not a single moment in this movie where it's like, oh, I'm being impressed with the action in terms of how it's being shown. It's just so lazy and lame and just nothing's there. And one plot hole that I found with this movie is that I thought the mask only worked during at night, but you can very clearly see it working at daytime as well. So I'm not really sure what that's about. Do they just decide to change things up for the sake of this movie? I don't know. I also didn't really enjoy the designs of Loki and Odin. It just looked very cheap and generic looking. This movie is nothing but visual effects just thrown in your face that aged pretty poorly, in my opinion. I can't think of a single visual effect that aged well in this film. It's just all poor and bad. And just from the opening shot of this movie, you can tell that this movie is being directed in a completely opposite approach to the first movie, where the first movie, it was kind of like a crime thriller, but this one's trying to be a family-friendly comedy, I guess. While being something different isn't necessarily bad, I just don't understand why you chose to go that route, because it just doesn't give you any reason to care, or anything that you liked about the first movie is just not in this movie anymore. So it might as well not even be tied into The Mask, because it has so little to do with that first movie. Like, if this was just like a spiritual successor to The Mask, I think this movie would have been, at the very least, a bit more forgivable, because it's not tied into the first movie at all, like from a narrative perspective. But the fact that they chose to do that just leaves me scratching my head. Like, why did you do this, and that? I can't make any sense of it. And there's an interesting narrative behind this movie that you can just look up and just see what happened. How did this happen? And there's a whole bunch of sources you can look into with this movie. And honestly, if you want to do that, that's probably not a bad idea, because it can get pretty interesting, I'll say that much. The movie does set some of the same beats as the first movie. Like in this movie, the main character goes to a party while wearing the mask. And in this movie, he's like singing and tries to get the party like in a upbeat, fun, like something that's like enjoyable. And in the first movie, it was like kind of funny, and it could have easily gone wrong, but they made it work. Whereas in this movie, wow, did they fail. Like the songs, they ruined all the songs. All the singing sucked. I hated what they were going for, and I just needed the movie to stop. Like the movie before that point was already bad and just not something I would have liked to have seen. But once you get to that first party scene, it's like, oh wow, this is actually a disaster. This is horrible. Like easily, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Easily. Like I have no idea what anyone was thinking. And I kind of looked up on IMDb to see if any of the cast and crew making this movie had much of a career after this, and for the most part, not really. Like, sure, some of them are still making movies, but I do feel as though many of them would have a much better career if this movie never existed. Or at the very least, were not attached to this movie, because nobody likes it, and I'm pretty sure we've reached a point where, like, everyone who was involved in the project has passed the point where, like, when the movie's coming out and being promoted, you have to pretend it's like, yeah, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, watch this movie. Everyone's just like, yeah, this is bad, and here's why. Like, what were we thinking here? Which is kind of fun. And the only thing that I haven't covered about this movie would be, are the characters at least good? No. There's no good characters in this movie. There's nothing likable about any of them. There's nothing interesting. There's no hook to this movie. And the only reason why I was never bored while watching this movie, like officially, I wasn't like yawning and just feeling uncomfortable in my seat just watching this movie. The only reason that didn't happen is because I was constantly just being horrified while watching this movie. Because what they actually show is just scary. Like, very few people can come up with ideas that are more terrifying than what is shown in this movie. Like, from an unintentionally creepy perspective. And that's about all I have to say about Son of the Mask. It was terrible, one of the worst movies ever made. Don't watch it. Don't even look up one image of it. You having seen the poster is bad enough, and I cannot recommend enough that you stay away from this movie. So just watch the first movie and pretend that Son of the Mask has never existed. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Son of the Mask an easy 1 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of Son of the Mask, and my social media links. They will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for The Green Hornet. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching, and have a great day.